Today we're going to give you some setup techniques and some flying tips for the ElectriFly VFO. This particular model is not really a conventional airplane as you would normally see it. It does a little bit of everything. It has some helicopter capabilities, it has some airplane capabilities, and it also has some different quirks that really makes it fun to fly. So you'll find in the video later on that we'll show you some different tricks and some different techniques to really have some fun with it. But at this point, we want to kind of go over some setup as far as what type of radio it's going to need and what kind of mixing it's going to be required. You can set it up with a conventional 4-channel radio, and what happens when you use a 4-channel radio, your two rudder channels will work together, but you will have to use a Y harness to link them into the receiver. Now, going that route, your rudder servos will work just as a rudder on a conventional airplane. They'll work together. Okay. Again, this is on a conventional 4-channel transmitter. Your elevator will work as an elevator. Okay, and your ailerons will work as ailerons. Now, what will have to happen is in your radio, you'll have to activate your elevon function to be able to get your ailerons and your elevators working together. Now, once you get into an upper end radio, and I've got this set up on a mix that you can do it either way, everything else works the same. Your rudder works the same, your elevators work the same, your aileron works the same. The only difference is I've included a mix that will automatically mix your 2 rudder channels into your ailerons, so that when your ailerons work, all your rudder channels will work independently. This is what I was explaining about having some very unique flight characteristics that you can really have some fun with. Okay, here we go. We've done the instructional videos for the setup and the mixing and everything on it, so now we're going to show you how to get it off the ground and have some fun. Obviously check your throws, make sure everything's going the direction that it needs to go before you make any attempt, because obviously it's bad if you don't. So you add a little bit of power, get the motor spinning. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get just enough to where the airplane gets a little light. Now you can see it starting to rotate and move around on the floor. Now when it gets to that point, you still have some function. You can stop it, move it around, you can do whatever you want. Okay? Now, see, as you can see, the torque is starting to take over and the airplane's spinning around. I'm not doing anything to it, that's just the motor sliding it around on the floor by itself. Now I can also speed that up, I can turn it back around here, and I can also stop it. All right. Now, when you get it off the ground, as you lift the thing off the ground, once it gets down to, say like it's about a foot off the ground, at that point, it gets a little unstable because the prop blast hits the ground and it comes back up and moves the airplane around. So I'm going to set it back down here for a second. I'll show you an easier way, especially when you're first starting to learn to fly the thing, is get it off the ground. Get it up to a couple feet off the ground. So at that point right there, see, it's become a lot more stable. All right, so I'm not really doing anything as far as inputs, just little minor stuff to keep it stable. At that point, as I said, it becomes very stable and pretty much easy to fly. Now at that point right there, you can see I've pretty much let the thing go and it's flying on its own. Now it does kind of self-stabilize itself. It wanders around a little bit, but it eventually straightens itself back up. Now this gives you a little bit of a chance to breathe and gives you some time to think about what you're doing. Now part of the problem that a lot of people have is they get disoriented where the bottom of the airplane's facing them. So at that point, what you do is you just spin it around with the ailerons. Okay, I'm going to give it into the mixing function so I can have a little more authority here to show you. You can spin and rotate the airplane around in any axis that you want to be able to make it easier for you to pick up orientation. Okay, so we'll bring it back down here. Now if you see, I made a kind of a constant rate of descent on that landing, and what I'll do is I'll pick it back up here and show you again. As you come down, you set it to the point where it's just slowly descending, and you try to get all 4 of the pods stationary so that they all hit the floor at the same time. Now we did some hovering with the conventional setup with the ailerons and the rudder and everything, which is just fine. The airplane flies just fine. But to give you some more authority, you can go ahead and use that programmable mix function on the ailerons. Now I'll lift it off here and get it up in the air a little bit, and you can see by using all 4 of the ailerons in roll, it actually spins around and is very, very maneuverable. So you can hover it, you can move it around, you can do anything you want to with it. You can go back by using a little VAF stick, you can push it forward and go a little forward stick, bring it back. Same way with on its knife edge, you can use the rudder. You can use the rudder to steer it back and forth. So it gives you unlimited capabilities as far as moving the VFO around while it's in the air. Now, the next thing, once you get to the point where you've mastered the hovering and everything's pretty comfortable, and hopefully you haven't re-glued a lot of stuff on it, you can transition into a forward flight. Now, the easiest way to transition into a forward flight is by add a little power, and you push the nose over. Now, as you fly it around, you want to get the nose up a little bit and fly it around in a slower attitude. So now if you notice, there's not as much power being used to fly it in forward flight. See, I'm almost back to where I'm about a quarter of throttle, so just to fly it around. It's very, very maneuverable. You still have lots of roll, you still have lots of pitch, okay, which makes it still very maneuverable. All right. Now, if you notice, I've let the nose come down a little bit, and it has accelerated as far as speed. So it's considerably faster with very, very little throttle additional added. All right, so as you can see right there, it's very, very maneuverable. You can fly it inverted, you can roll it, you can do loops, you can do multiple rolls. It'll stand up, you can spin it around. After you've flown your full flight, the next thing is to get it to come back in for a landing. The easiest thing that we found to do is to slow the airplane down, pull the nose up, and add just enough power to hold it stationary. Okay, you want to get the top of the airplane to you so your orientation is a little bit better. See, I'm just moving it left and right here, so that way you can see what's going on. All right. So you want to keep the top of the airplane to you, just slowly bleed the throttle off of it, and keep the tail and everything squared, and get it down to where it's really close, and just come off the throttle and it'll land. It's that simple. I'll just do one more quick one. Add enough power to get it up into a hover, and then just decline the power just a little bit, and just set it down on the ground so softly.